DeviantArt is a popular art website that launched on August 7th of 2000. It quickly became one of the biggest art websites on the internet. By 2008, it already had 36 million visitors annually. Today, DeviantArt is still one of the biggest art sharing websites with millions of uploads daily. The site was open to just about anyone, making it a great place for many young artists to find and cultivate communities. That's not to say that DeviantArt hasn't had its own share of issues, though. Welcome everyone to the DeviantArt Iceberg Explained. This is going to be a comprehensive look at the art website. It's good, it's bad, and, well, it's very strange. And a big thanks to Nora Kingsley for creating this iceberg and helping in the creation of this video. If you have an idea for a video you'd like me to make, you can subscribe to my Patreon and send in recommendations. I also look at the video ideas chat on my Discord for what the community is really interested in. Now, let's start this iceberg. Points act as the currency for DeviantArt. Points can be bought with real money with a transfer rate of about 80 points per dollar. Points let you buy commissions, thank others, and also are just generally a currency used only on DeviantArt. The point system is pretty simple, but only serves a purpose on DeviantArt itself. Meaning if you buy a commission off of somebody else with points, they can only use those points on DeviantArt, and they're not making any actual money off of that purchase. This makes the point system kind of weird, as most artists who do commissions want to actually make money off of their artwork. Points feel more like buying upvotes and then giving them away to your friends. It's a very strange system that I'm not even sure if is liked on the website. In my research, I wasn't really able to find whether people actually liked the point system or whether they hated it. Stamps are small pixel images that users can use to express themselves. Many of the stamps will have a quote, message, or some sort of pixel art that the user will use again to express themselves. DeviantArt World Tour is a celebration of deviant artists from all over the world that started way back in 2009. Various artists have been invited to join the World Tour, and it's honestly a really cool idea for the community. Probably the coolest community event held by DeviantArt. DeviantArt Summit is a highly selective group that hosts some of the best photographers on the website. This group is invitation only, and they're very selective on who they actually host art for. Lots of very well done photography that would be at home in an art gallery. Notes is the messaging system for DeviantArt, kind of like Messenger for Facebook. Notes lets you send messages to other users, as well as receive messages. You can create folders for your notes, and this is all pretty simple stuff, so let's just go on to the next one. Many of the artwork on the site can be rated from 1 to 5 stars. This is very similar to YouTube's old rating system before they had the thumbs up and thumbs down system. Not only can you rate the art itself, you can also rate specific parts of the art that you like, making the system a lot more varied. Also, artists can turn off this entire rating system, making the entire thing optional. Llamas are a way for users to express interest or just how much they like someone's art. Llamas are actually part of DeviantArt's badge system, which functions pretty much the same way. You can send them to other users to let them know you like their art, and they're also highly collectible. The Shirt and Gear Shop was a shop where you could buy DeviantArt specific gear, as well as points. The shop is now closed though. Subscriptions are exactly what they sound like, letting you support a specific artist behind a paywall. These are similar to how you can subscribe to someone's Twitch channel to show support. The subscription feature was actually met with some mixed reactions from the community. It seemed like a really good idea at first, being able to pay a sub to an artist you really liked, but it seemed excessive and greedy by the company overall. The idea for subscriptions actually feels very similar to Patreon to me. You create sub tiers for your fans, and then they in turn pay for whatever sub they want to support you at. Sketchbook is an art app that lets you post directly to DeviantArt. Though I did some digging and you're not able to directly post anymore from the Sketchbook app, I'm not sure why this feature was removed. It doesn't say anywhere online. Stash is a site connected to DeviantArt that lets you store files. Free accounts can store up to 2 gigabytes, and it's very similar to Google Drive. So there's not much more to say about this one. Badges like the Llamas I mentioned before are a form of collectible on the DeviantArt website. They're a small pixel icon that can be sent and traded with others. And they're also very collectible. Collections allow users to create a folder for their art or other art they find on the site. These are mainly used to categorize art, but many have also used them to categorize their webcomics, so that way you can read them in order and find them all in one place. Groups are exactly as the name implies, groups where people can connect. These are usually used for art styles or for fandoms to connect with one another. Groups exist to bring people with like-minded interests together. Groups can create their own set of rules and also decide who gets to join the group. Some are highly selective of their members, while others are way more lax. Journals are an online diary of sorts. Users can share their thoughts and express them to the rest of the world, kind of like Twitter. Journals can be either individual owned or group owned. Base's pixel dolls are blank dolls that can be drawn over. They're very popular in the anime community as well as the My Little Pony community. The dolls predate DeviantArt, but are very popular on the website, so they're worth mentioning. Fella is the official mascot for DeviantArt. In 2011, DeviantArt held a contest to help decide who the mascot of the website was, and Fella won that. The little character was far more prominent back in the day, but has far less of a role to play in today's website. Fella just screams pre-2012 internet. The mascot still works though, and is pretty recognizable to anyone who's been on the internet for a long time. More Like X refers to the tab that can be found in any image on the website. It's supposed to be a piece of art that resembles the one you're currently looking at, but if you click it for too long, you'll end up in some weird places. If you have some free time, you should click the More Like X tab until you end up in some very weird or strange rabbit holes. Some can be even kind of fun. Hashtags work very similarly to how they do on other websites. They allow you to tag your art and make it easier to find in the search engine. Good tags are very important for SEO or search engine optimization. Hashtags are still important, but less important so than the art just being interesting and eye-catching. Furries is a fandom focused around people dressing up as their fursona. Furries were very prominent on DeviantArt back in the day and still have a place on the website now, with some good art and some questionable art. The furry community was huge on the website, being easily one of the biggest fandoms. I won't go too deep into the world of furries, as I don't really know a whole lot about the fandom as an outsider. I also try not to judge people based on what their interests are, so I'll just leave it at that. PK Russell is a controversial figure on YouTube, known for his rants on wacky and bizarre art found on DeviantArt. I'm gonna be honest though, I didn't know who this person was before starting this iceberg. I don't really know a whole lot about them, really. From what I've researched though, he appears to bully younger artists on the website, which is kind of becoming a problem when young people are so impressionable, and online harassment and bullying is becoming a big problem lately. I'm not really someone who condones any sort of drama here on YouTube. I try to stick to being entertaining and also help bring others up. But this was on the iceberg and I covered it. Alright, buckle in friends, this one's a bit of a doozy. I'm sure everyone remembers those weird Zootopia comics that were floating around the internet for a while. Well, those are related to an abortion comic. The comic was created by a user named Borba, and he focused on the Zootopia characters Judy and Nick. This comic would become infamous for not only the abortion section, but for other decisions it decided to make. And if you don't care for a spoiler, I mean, you can skip ahead a little bit if you want, but Judy ends up being shot. These kind of works always generate a buzz, and I'm not really sure what the artist's intentions were with the story. I will say this comic isn't really something for all readers. Spr-out is he's an artist very well known for hyperpreg or preg art. Alright, I should probably explain what that is. So hyperpreg or preg art is art where the character is made pregnant or overly pregnant. So characters are taken and given giant bellies or obvious signs of pregnancy. It's done as a fetish and is probably one of the pieces of art that scares off a lot of average viewers from DeviantArt. I showed some of the pictures I found to my friends, and they haven't talked to me for a week, which is understandable, really. Spr-out is well known on both DeviantArt and on Twitter. Eclipse is the current layout for DeviantArt. It was met with heavy backlash as many users found it to be a hassle to deal with. More people have called it a headache than anything else, really. DeviantArt has recently gotten into trouble with users over an NFT controversy. Artists have reported that their art has been stolen without their permission and turned into NFTs. This issue is also on YouTube with a lot of YouTubers being turned into NFTs, so it's an issue that's way bigger than just DeviantArt. Monty is the creator of the award-winning Rooster Teeth show RWBY. He also had a DeviantArt where he would post concept art of characters as well as other designs that didn't quite make it into the show. He was pretty active on the website until his passing in 2015. Also, if you like RWBY, you can check out my brother's channel where he covers pretty much everything RWBY. I'm pretty new to the franchise, so I don't have the most insight on it at all, really. I'm pretty new to the show and fandom, so I don't really have much more to say about it, honestly. Beagletsuin is a very popular artist in both the Zelda and Earthbound fandoms. They created some of the more popular Tetra and Link ship art, with Wind Waker obviously being a big inspiration for them. Their art is easily recognizable to people who are also in that fandom. I haven't actually seen their art until doing research for this iceberg, and yeah, it's all pretty good. And wait, they've been a Deviant for 16 years? I don't think I've actually ever been on a website for 16 years. Gurichan is a Thailand-based artist who grew very heavily on DeviantArt. Her art was viewed millions of times, and she has quite a few followers. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2015, but that hasn't stopped people from loving her art. Inflation is when prices of stuff goes up over time on a... Okay, no, I'm kidding. Whew. Just prepping myself for this one, Inflation is this fetish art where parts of the body are inflated. So like the stomach, feet, head, whatever. It's just inflated to crazy proportions. It's semi-similar to hyperpreg art, except for those usually focus on just pregnancy-based body inflation, while inflation focuses on inflating anything, really. This art is also similar in how it scares off many casual viewers from the DeviantArt website. And really, what can you do when inflation is as popular as it is on the website? Inflation is mostly prominent in the anime and furry communities. DeviantArt is your one-stop shop for any fetish art you might be looking for. From vor to feet fetish stuff, you're probably going to find it on DeviantArt. We've already covered inflation and preg art, but there's so much more fetish art on this website. It's ridiculous. There's way too much on this website, honestly. Honestly, there's too much for it to even be covered in this one section, so we'll see more of it as we go down the iceberg. Muro is a DeviantArt sister site that acts as a free editing and art tool, but it lacks so many features that most people would be better off using any sort of free alternatives. God, I Wish That Were Me is a quote from a user by the name of BigJB21. You've probably seen the phrase thrown around as it's become a pretty popular reaction image. The original comment was on this image, a big lady holding a baby man. The comment was posted directly under this image. This phrase has become a pretty great reaction meme and can be used in all sorts of situations. It's pretty iconic, honestly. The Sonic fandom is pretty massive and can be found on most websites on the internet. DeviantArt, though, has one of the biggest Sonic fandoms on its website, which also means that DeviantArt has most of the Sonic OCs. OC stands for original character, and the Sonic fandom has so many OCs that for a while it was kind of a joke that you could type in your name plus the hedgehog and find a relevant result. Let's give this a try. Alright, so there isn't a Sacro Sonic OC, but if any Sonic fans are in the comments want to make one, you have my full blessing. The Sonic fandom actually had an issue with OCs, where people would take a character and just recolor it and call it a brand new character. The same thing happened in the Naruto fandom, where people would take a character, change their hair color and their hairstyle, and then call it a brand new character. And that's not exactly how that works. OC do not steal is a phrase that was attached to a lot of people's artwork on the website. Mainly it was attached to people's OCs because, my OC do not steal. The phrase OC do not steal also would find its place in other websites other than DeviantArt through the OC or original content, please do not steal. Art theft happens on most websites on the internet. Art theft specifically on DeviantArt happened a lot more than others because it's an art sharing website. Others would take someone's art and claim it as their own. Art theft comes in many different forms, not just taking someone's art and reposting it somewhere else as your own. Tracing is another form of art theft where people will just trace over an image and claim that it is theirs. Tracing is considered a sin in the art community. Five Nights at Freddy's, or FNAF for short, is a game created by Scott Cawthon. The game found immediate success due to a multitude of reasons, one being the lore, the character designs were another, and, the game was very interesting for a horror title. With the popularity came the fandom, which was mostly interested in just the lore, but others were interested in the animatronics, or the enemies that were in the game. And with that, FNAF had their own OCs, which were mostly just the animatronics. There were actually so many OCs that it was very similar to the Sonic fandom, where you could type in your name plus animatronic and you'll most likely get a result. And this really spoke to how strong the community was and how popular the game had become in such a short time. Mpreg stands for male pregnancy and it's a pretty common fetish that you can find on the site. It's almost absurd how much Mpreg art actually exists on the site, with just about every fandom having at least one or two of these pictures. I mentioned Vor above, but I didn't actually talk about it in full. Vor is the fetish of eating or being eaten by somebody else, and is one of the most infamous fetishes on the website. You can find Vor in just about every corner of DeviantArt. The bases and Pixel Doll fandoms are pretty much always at each other's throat, claiming the other one is a form of art theft, even though they're very similar in concept. Christian is a person that could take up an entire iceberg to themselves. They're often referred to as the most documented person on the internet, with an entire wiki dedicated to their life. I won't be covering most of the antics of Christian, just the sections that revolve around DeviantArt. Christian created Sonichu, which is just a mashup of Sonic and Pikachu, and claimed copyright infringement was not broken because the characters were so different. Christian joined DeviantArt in 2005, and subsequently joined two more times after that in 2008 and in 2009. Each time they were kicked for posting pornographic content. Adoptables, or OCs for sale, refers to an artist creating an OC that's specifically meant to be adopted or sold. This was a pretty common tactic back in the early days of DeviantArt, where people would create tons of OCs just to sell them on the website. PonderSprocket is a YouTuber in the Ranting Community. Ranting Community members are exactly what they sound like. They draw or have their art on display while they rant about different subjects. She's most known for debunking rumors against a fellow YouTuber named Spoctor Theory. Keeney was a popular deviant artist who sadly passed away in 2020 due to cancer. She was mourned heavily by the art community and DeviantArt as a whole. She's also known for the crying a puddle of tears meme, or this one. Ridiculouscake is a very popular YouTuber known for doing weight gain and MLP art. They also do animations on YouTube, mainly with the weight gain and MLP stuff like I mentioned before. Warrior Cats is a very active fan base on DeviantArt. Now, if you don't know the Warriors books, they're a set of books about feral cats set in a semi-fantasy universe. These books were well received, and the fandom decided that they would make their home on DeviantArt. Since we're on the subject of the Warrior Cats, a Tumblr post was actually created that highlighted all the bad OCs and fan art. This one seemed to be specifically targeting a deviant named Kit. Kit was pretty young and being bullied for their art, which led to an outpouring of support from the Warrior Cats community. A hashtag was started called Project Lover Kit. The hashtag had many other artists drawing Kit's OC, or just being nice to Kit in general. Though all good deeds seem to have two sides, as other people started to get jealous of Kit receiving so much praise for what people would assume is bad art. It all came to a head when the artist Kit asked for people to just stop. First off, yaoi is a very popular form of entertainment where boys love other boys. It's very popular with teenage girls and especially in the fanfiction community. Yaoi is a Japanese word that means a manga created where men love other men, for women, by women, so it kind of all checks out. Yaoi World, on the other hand, is a very popular artist who does this style, and has been active in pretty much every community. Their art is very easily recognizable. Dmajorboss was a fiction writer who would write most of their stories on DeviantArt from 2011 to 2013. At 28, Dmajor was diagnosed with cancer and would pass away in 2013. A friend of Dmajor's would break the news on their DeviantArt account. Danger Russ was the first ever person to post on DeviantArt, but that was ever archived, so now it's technically lost media. I used the Wayback Machine, but I couldn't find their actual original post, or anything about their post really. Andrewsilva 60 is a very talented artist, who is known specifically for drawing art of World War I factions. You can check out his art for yourself, and I just love the historical angle. ProShip Community is a war between people who have problematic ships. The problematic aspect could be the age gap, or maybe the characters are abusive to one another, or, them being related. The one who ships these kind of relationships are known as ProShips, while people who don't like them are called anti-ships. Very creative. I saw this back and forth a lot when I was in the Gravity Falls fandom, as there's a lot of weird ships that go on over there. I won't even start naming those here. What's even worse is the name of one of the worst ships in the community. Blueskin Devil was a deviant back in the day, but they now have a deactivated account. They can be found on Twitter, but they aren't really someone worth checking out. They are known for being openly racist and just about every ist there is. Simply Lemmy is the user that posted the millionth piece of art on DeviantArt. For this, they awarded a lifetime core membership to DeviantArt, so I really hope that wasn't just a one-off post. I already mentioned the ranting community above. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a community on YouTube of people who rant while doing art or while showcasing their art. Usually they talk about drama, world events, and, DeviantArt, I guess. Crystal's 1986 is a very well-known artist in both the MLP and Homestuck fandoms. His art is pretty unique, but very fetishistic. The one thing this artist is really known for is drawing human hands with inhumanly long fingers, as well as overuse of healing crystals in their art. Wix.com acquired DeviantArt in 2017 for $36 million and then fused the two websites. There's not much more to say about this section. Prison Suit Reverman is a very notorious artist on DeviantArt. He pops up in pretty much every fandom and can be the rise or fall of said fandom. He isn't as active anymore, but he's left behind a very smutty legacy. The biting pear of Salamanca was something that was posted back in 2006. The image is of a giant pear with a very realistic mouth and human teeth. The description states that this thing is a tourist attraction and also eats low-flying birds as well as sightseers who aren't really paying attention. This thing would go on to be the April Fool's event of 2017, which is pretty interesting because that's a whole 11 years after it was posted. Also, it's so surreal and weird looking that I just kind of love it. Nad6969 is an infamous, probably the most infamous, art tracer on the website. For 10 years now, they've been caught tracing other people's art and even have 11 DMCA orders against them. Art stuff like this should be against the rules on DeviantArt if it isn't already. A deviant by the handle of Caravan had bid well over $20,000 on an Adoptable OC. This was due in part to a fit of mania they were having due to the new medication they were on. The art came out rushed due to Caravan just wanting it to all be done with. Oivelo is a well-known cyberbully and troll on the website. She is known for spamming users for days on end and has multiple accounts so she can avoid bans. Toon Guy is probably one of the most toxic members of the DeviantArt community. He's known for having some weird fascination with CGI versus 2D traditional art. He even believes that Disney is somehow behind the lack of 2D animation being done these days. Toon Guy has even gone as far as to send death threats to people who make CGI animations, including those at Disney. Lily Guy is an art thief who is known for shipping herself with Shadow the Hedgehog. Sora Belly is an inflation artist most active in the Kingdom Hearts community, which I'm sure you could have guessed from, well, their name, Sora Belly. They're still very active on both DeviantArt and Twitter, and even have a Patreon. I didn't know there's such a large demand for Kingdom Hearts inflation, but I have been wrong before. Big is a Vor artist, if you couldn't tell by the name. They're actually one of the biggest Vor artists on the website, mainly for how detailed their art is. The Vor community actually holds Big as one of their best artists in their community. I also like how they named themselves Big as they had a plan, a theme, and they just kind of stuck to the whole thing. Close species are an OC species that are created by an artist and then sold off to different people. So someone can make their own elf species, obviously don't name it elf, and then sell it to another user who can then officially make art of it. There aren't any actual copyright protections for these species though, and so it all kind of runs on a trust system. So this one's very interesting to me as someone who was in the Sonic fandom for a very long time. Christian Sonic fan art is exactly what it sounds like. It's Sonic and Friends in a Christian theme. In all honesty, it's pretty funny to see these kind of mashups, but it's unknown at this time whether this is done ironically or not, as nobody in the community knows whether these people are trolling or not. Inktober is an annual artist event that's held on DeviantArt, Tumblr, and Twitter. Each day a new prompt or theme will be put out, and an artist is required to create a piece of art that's related to that theme. The event was met with controversy in 2018 when an artist accused another artist of stealing their idea for Inktober altogether. Arvalis is an artist who draws very realistic depictions of Pokemon. His art has made the rounds on the internet several times now, and it's pretty cool to look at. He's very active in the Godzilla and Monster Hunter fandoms, and also Pokemon as well. Hitalia is a Hitalia fandom artist who's taken the themes of the show a little further than most. Since the characters are based off countries, he has taken the war atrocities and all the heinous acts that these countries have done and turned them into the characters. Some of it's kind of cool, but others can be considered in poor taste. King the Hungry Fox was a very well-known Vor artist in the furry community. A lot of the art that he drew features his persona Ping. King the Hungry Fox has left DeviantArt, and so too has the Vor art that he created. The Fun Place is a deviant mostly known for their comic UM, but they're also known for belly inflation art. They left DeviantArt, and the reason they left is unknown. Fluttermilk is another preg and transformation artist that made the rounds not too long ago. Fluttermilk had a very large cast of characters that they would draw in these two specific art styles. Zaxano is a webcomic and fetish artist on DeviantArt. He has a unique style that seems to blend Western comic book art with anime. Kforia is an artist known for vor art and has been posting on DeviantArt since the early 2000s. Their page is absolutely covered in vor and inflation art, and it's pretty much what I imagined when I thought of DeviantArt back in the day. Amuria was a pioneer of the moe art style, with characters with big eyes and as well as a very cutesy look. She was later called out by another artist by the name of Just Fly a Kite for saying her art was very generic. Amuria hasn't posted on her account since 2008, but there's a theory that she might actually run multiple accounts, as there are at least 3 more accounts with a very similar art style and shading technique. Chinprod22 is a deviant artist who's very active in the Simpsons community. A lot of their art focuses on loss, like Homer and Marge losing Bart, or other similar themes. They also just kind of draw general art focused around the Simpsons. Country Humans is pretty much Hetalia, but a little worse. Similar to Hetalia, it's a fandom that takes countries and turns them into humans, but these ones usually take all the sins of, a country's past and then turns them into what the characters will actually do. DeviantArt was actually banned in Russia for showing pro-Nazi, pro-drug, and other prohibited images in the country. Honestly, I'm surprised more countries haven't actually banned DeviantArt for a lot of the content that is on the website currently. China has also banned DeviantArt, but that's not really a surprise since they've also banned Google and YouTube in their country. A common scam hackers will use on DeviantArt is to say you've won a free points gift card. This is known as a phishing scam and is pretty common with all hackers, really. And even though DeviantArt has never actually sold points through gift cards, that hasn't stopped some people from actually falling for them, usually the elderly or very, very young people. A very strange feud that started with Spr-out and Bleedman, with Spr-out claiming that Bleedman's loliconish art did not belong on DeviantArt. Bleedman responded to this by making a revenge artwork out of one of Spr-out's adoptables. A very strange feud indeed. Major retailers have stolen art from deviants and sold them on shirts and other products without the artist's permission. When asked for DeviantArt to do something about this, they've never actually taken any action. Merlogic 1 is a very peculiar person who has a strange obsession with rich women buying Wonder Bread. He has also asked for commissions of artists to draw rich women bulldozing forests. There's a lot more to Merlogic 1, but I won't be covering it here on this iceberg. There's enough content for someone to make an entire video about this person. Lizzywinkle was a very popular Roblox model maker who sadly passed away in 2019 due to cancer. She was sadly only 15, but also had grown a massive community around her creations. Her sister would eventually announce her passing over her Twitter. Maternities Through Time is a community-held event where artists would draw preg characters through different ages. This could include ancient Rome, the Viking era, or even the future. This is held by Impregnation, which is the biggest preg group on DeviantArt. There's a pairing that exists of Mario and Luigi. Yes, that Mario and Luigi. I've heard of some weird pairings throughout my time on the internet, but this one's kind of the weirdest I've ever heard, really. It's weird to me also since I've been a fan of these characters since I was a kid, and it's just so odd that this would even be a thing. I'm not sure why this exists, but there's a whole group dedicated to it that you can find on DeviantArt. Planes and other vehicles have been anthropomorphized, with people making their own sonas out of, well, planes, trains, and other vehicles. This doesn't shock me at all, especially the part about these sonas being used in vor art. Beagletsuin is an artist who posts cartoon edits with even stranger captions. Not much is really known about this user or why they do what they do. There's a disturbing fetish around women hanging themselves on DeviantArt. This art is a whole disturbing rabbit hole to itself, so I won't really be covering much of it here. I also wouldn't recommend this specific niche to most of my viewers out there. Forest Dweller Houses was a deviant that sadly passed away in 2015. He was known for posting pictures of his wood carvings, mainly birdhouses, all on DeviantArt. His page shows that he was really doing what he loved, despite how his life was turning out. MLP IRL is kind of exactly what it sounds like. A fad where people will take My Little Pony characters and then Photoshop them into the real world. Usually they're photoshopped next to the artist, or just someone they know. Sometimes even they're posted in just random spots in the world. Diaper Transformations is an obscure fetish that revolves around turning characters into diapers. This also includes users transforming themselves or wanting to be transformed into diapers. I don't really understand any of this website anymore. ArtStation is a DeviantArt competitor, which is looking pretty good right now with how far DeviantArt has fallen. Its website is a lot cleaner and easier to navigate, but it seems to be missing a lot of the features that made DeviantArt so successful over the years. It also seems to be missing a lot of the art styles that can only be found on DeviantArt. The overall quality does seem to be a little bit higher though, just from a first page glance. Kekobart was a deviant who created the biggest Brazilian group on DeviantArt. He would sadly pass away from pneumonia in 2015, but his group is still very active to this day. Godzilla 713 is a deviant known for drawing bondage art. Pretty much any female character you can even imagine has probably been drawn by them in some form of bondage, or mummification. I perused their page for about half a second and saw nothing but bondage art from wall to wall. The Archie Sonic comics are actually really cool, but the community is a little bit all over the place. Like most Sonic fandoms, the community can be, well, it can be the best community or the worst community all at the same time. There's a lot of infighting, ship wars, and general disorder within these communities. Roleplay communities are on every single website on the internet, so it's no surprise that you can find them on DeviantArt as well. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic had a character named Twilight Sparkle become an alicorn. This change led to a heavily mixed reception by the community. Copyright issues are huge on any content sharing website, but even bigger on DeviantArt. Many of the scandals are actually aimed directly at DeviantArt, who has done nothing to actually quell these issues. Artful is another DeviantArt alternative that a lot of people are leaving DeviantArt to go to. Artful is a bit of a smaller website than other competitors, but with so many people leaving DeviantArt, they're actually going to Artful, so that could change in the next couple years. DeviantArt is losing users fast, and the reasons are too many to list, really. Most people are leaving because other sites do what DeviantArt does, but better. The loads of controversies and the lack of community support from DeviantArt itself have also led to the decline of the website. Donkey Squidward Family is a strange rabbit hole that formed on the Super Nanny wiki. It is notable for using characters named after infamous deviants, though. Bronco6666 appears to be a deviant who's created some of the more interesting SpongeBob creepypastas. This artist has Cold on their page, which is a SpongeBob creepypasta I covered on my Lost Episodes creepypasta Iceberg. I'm not sure if they're the original creator, but if they are, that would make sense since they have all their art and stuff on their page. If you go to their page, they actually have several SpongeBob creepypastas on it. UTTP, or the YouTube Troll Police, was an old group that used to do raids on different websites. They would raid communities on YouTube, DeviantArt, Twitter, and Fur Affinity. The group seems to be gone now, with not really much of a trace of them on the internet. And that was the DeviantArt Iceberg Explained. Honestly, this was a really interesting look into the world of DeviantArt, even though it's kind of hard to verify a lot of the sources on the iceberg itself, due to how little DeviantArt actually, well, archives their stuff. I visited the Wayback Machine quite a bit just to verify a few things. Overall, this was a good and interesting iceberg, a little different than what I usually do, but I like to archive things that happen on the internet, as that's part of what this channel is all about. A huge thanks to my patrons Blow and Hose and Nora Kingsley. And an even bigger thanks to Nora Kingsley for specifically suggesting this video, as well as making the iceberg. I wouldn't have been able to do it without their help and their extensive knowledge of DeviantArt. And thanks to everyone for watching this video. I hope to see you guys all in the next one.